Hi, this is Jason Everett, also known as Mr. E. You're watching for BassPlayersOnly.com.
Hi everyone, John Liebman here. You're watching for BassPlayersOnly.com. We're coming to you today from the Bartolini booth at the 2017 Winter NAMM Show, Anaheim, California, with none other than Mr. E himself, Jason Everett. How are you, Jason?
I'm very well, John. How are you today?
I'm doing great. I'm really excited about talking to you because you're doing some really unique things. First of all, you're holding a 7-string bass in your hand.
I am.
And I know you do a lot of really cool, really exotic stuff. But let's back up. I want to go back to the beginning and hear about your earliest influences, your earliest approaches to music, how you became a bass player, and what that part of your story is.
Well, my story starts at 2, actually. My mother says I would conduct in front of the TV with Arthur Fiedler and the Boston Pops, and at 3, I had listened to Peter and the Wolf and identified the bassoon as the instrument. I said, I want to play that instrument.
The bassoon was what animal?
Grandfather.
Okay.
So, you know it.
I've interviewed 500 bass players. You're the first one that's sung the bassoon part to Peter and the Wolf.
There you go. Well, you know, I had to do something, right? So at any rate, I fell in love with the bass when I was probably about 10, and I was watching the Blues Brothers, and Donald Duck Dunn just won me over. And by 12, I picked up the instrument, taught myself how to play, and I used to spend every Sunday going from the first note of the first Rush album to the last note of Signals, and that was my 7-hour ritual every weekend, and that's how I taught myself how to play.
Wow. Okay.
So Geddy Lee had a huge influence. From there I went to Jocko and played in the jazz band at school. I attended college on a bassoon scholarship, but was real active in the jazz program there.
What college?
That was Northern Arizona State. And I actually dropped out to become a professional musician. I was playing, jazz clubs at that time. I actually started college at 16, so I've been playing jazz clubs professionally since I was 16. Then I got out. I really went outside jazz. I played with a group in Minneapolis called the Little Green Men, which was kind of like Sun Ra, but so it would go from composition to full-on total disorganized improv. It would be whatever in the moment. And most of the time it worked beautifully. Of course, improv, free form, it can go dark places sometimes, but mostly it was great.
I saw Sun Ra one time live. Very interesting experience.
I loved it. It was a huge influence on me. I fell in love with John McLaughlin and Indian music when I was 18, and so really Shakti, exactly. And I played with a couple of groups that are Shakti-esque in San Francisco, even though I live in Seattle, because the Indian influences for the last 30 years has really dominated my musical kind of voice. And so the music that I compose tends to have either Indian or Middle Eastern tonalities and or rhythms. And an Indian rhythm is quite different from Western rhythm.
Before we get into that, going back to what was playing on pop radio, the Beatles obviously, did that get your attention, the stuff that George was doing?
I have to plead the fifth on the Beatles. I'm not a fan.
Yeah. Okay.
No, not absolutely.
But I mean, his stuff doesn't really sound like the Beatles.
No.
I mean, Within You, Without You, Blue Jay Way, some of them.
I don't like that pop sound. I really don't. But I love funk, and so boogie and disco and really funky. All that stuff has just been a huge influence on me. So I tend to get very funky as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
But let's switch gears back again. Tell me a little bit more about what you're doing, the Indian influences, the odd time signatures, and however else you would describe what it is that you do that's so compelling.
Odd meters are in my blood, and I feel odd meters very naturally. I don't count them. It's just always felt that way. So I released a piece this last year that has it's a 4-movement composition. It's 22 minutes long. The first 3 movements were released in April. I'm releasing the 4th movement called The Return in about 2 months. I just got tracks from India from Ujjwal Nagar, who's a singer there. And that piece of The Return is in 15. The second movement is in 3.5. And when I play with the Indian guys, they don't even blink.
Do you write it out for them?
No, it's you don't have to with those
Their
guys.
version of the clave or the,
Right.
or the backbeat.
So
or
you mentioned Shakti earlier. So on this piece I released in April is Selva Ganesh, who's the Gautam player and Kanjira player for Shakti with John McLaughlin right now. He's playing with that group currently. So.
What are you holding there, Jason?
So this actually is my signature bass that we released this September. This is from Conklin. This is the Jason Everett signature bass. It's also known as the Ohm bass. It's a neck, so it has some options. Obviously, I've got the options, which is the neck through design. This particular one is zebra wood and wenge. It's a 7 laminate. It's got walnut wings, so it makes it a little heavy, but it gives it that nice dark resonant kind of MIDI tone. On the top, I have a one piece of Coco Bolo, which was very hard for those guys to get. They're actually probably still cursing my name, but we did a yellow heart inlay on this. The fingerboard is also yellow heart with the Coco Bolo inlay, and this piece is here just fantastic if you get a chance to see it up close. They are Bartolini pickups, and we can talk a lot about Bartolini. I've got history with them. They're custom for this, the wood coverings on that. It also has a Graphtec MIDI and piezo system, so I'm able to.
That's a MIDI bass?
It's a MIDI bass as well. So I've got MIDI on this. I've got 2 piezo settings, and then of course I've got the Bartolini pickups. So.
Tell me a little bit more about the Bartolinis.
Well, I started my
I want to
relationship.
make sure we're not blocking your face there
All
for
right.
the camera there.
Thanks, John.
Sure.
Yeah, it's not that attractive a face next to yours, so we don't hide. But at any rate, I met, or at least met on the phone, Pat and Bill Bartolini about 35 years ago, and I had a Geddy Lee Rickenbacker 4001 bass, obviously being a Geddy head, right? Yeah. And when I fell in love with Indian music, and mostly my primary bass was the fretless, which is also a Rick, I converted my 4001 into a scallop neck piccolo bass, which sounds like a sitar. So it's like an electric sitar. And I had Pat and Bill custom make the pickups for me, and then also had the custom make the pickups for the Rick fretless. And they had that little mute cover down there. They actually made me a humbucking tiny little pickup to go in there, which gave it this crazy sound. So Pat and Bill and I fell in love with Bartolini pickups like 35 years ago, and it's such an honor to be one of their artists and to represent them here at NAMM 2017. It's a dream come true, literally.
What else do you have coming up? You have something percolating or brewing? You're in the middle of a project?
I actually have several projects. I play in 2 bands in San Francisco in the Bay Area. One is Ancient Future and the other is Facing East. They're both world music or Indian kind of influenced. I just launched my own project in Seattle, which is called Pandemonium. And I'll grab you a sticker here and we'll get that on. So Pandemonium is it's groove based, so I want people to dance. There's the logo. Look at that. So Pandemonium is all my original compositions, which are odd metered, but they're very groovy. They're very easy to dance to, and they're fairly eclectic melodies. And I have to say, the incredible popularity of Snarky Puppy has really warmed my heart because my compositional style is very similar to Michael League's. It's bass, it's groove-oriented, it's danceable, and it's quirky, and it's eclectic. And the fact that he's doing so well and Snarky Puppy's doing so well gives me a lot of optimism, not that I would be at that level, but that kind of music can be interesting to the populace, and that's always been one of my issues. Not that I care, but the music I create has a very small kind of audience, and I'm okay with that. But Snarky Puppy is indicated that if it's good enough and it's relatable enough, at least on a rhythmic level, then people can have fun. So that's my hope with Pandemonium.
I was hanging with Michael last night. Great guy. I had never met him before. Super nice guy. If somebody wanted to have a chance to listen to some of this music that you've written, where could they go?
I have a website, which is MrEMachine.com. I'm also on Facebook, which is Jason Everett, a.k.a. Mr. E. I have a YouTube channel, which is YouTube at Basin Jason E. So I'm pretty easy to find on the web. I have a lot of videos, and then No Trouble's done a lot of stuff, and now they'll be able to find me on your site. So
okay, very good. Last question, Jason. What would you be if you weren't a bass player? Something outside of music.
Well, I'm a lot of things. I'm a father, I'm a gardener, I'm a fireman. What would I be if I wasn't a bass player? Well, hopefully I'd still be a musician. Because if I wasn't a musician, I wouldn't be alive.
There you go. All right. Please keep us posted on anything and everything that is coming up, because it's truly unique, and I think it's worth a listen. And that instrument is beautiful too.
Thank you so much for your time, John, and thank you so much for profiling bass players around the world. We're a unique instrument. We're an emerging instrument to the masses, and I'm very optimistic and excited about the future of bass.
Yes, as are we.
Thanks.
Well, thanks very much, Jason. From the Bartolini booth at the 2017 Winter NAMM Show with Mr. E, Bassin Jason Everett, I am John Liebman. You're watching for BassPlayersOnly.com.